Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Nick Bowens, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Lander Cook, currently the co-founder and principal player agent at Cook Stark Management. Lander, how you doing here today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Absolutely. Excited to chat here. I know you guys are up to a ton of cool stuff with Cook Stark Management. As I touched on, you're the co-founder there. So the job duties, the job description probably expand a little bit beyond a typical agent or player agent there. Talk to me a little bit about the business, about the company, how it all started, and where you guys are today.
It's been a crazy journey. So I'm approaching 4 years already, which is nuts. But yeah, I started off 3.5 years ago with one client when I recognized that even myself as a male college hockey player, that I was treated better than some of our female clients were during their recruitment process, and I wanted to be at the forefront of that change. So I want all the female athletes to get the same opportunities that male athletes get, and that's what we're working on.
Oh, that's awesome. How many people are involved with you guys on the business side today, and how many clients do you guys represent at CSM?
So I'm in a team of 4 now, which is exciting, and we're always adding. And then we just touched 70 clients.
Wow.
I've got 40 of my own, and there's 30 more between the other agents.
Very cool, very cool. And what's sort of the split across different sports there? Different leagues, different tiers. Where are you guys most focused, or is it a little bit of everything?
We started with hockey. That was my bread and butter for a long time, and it's still my book of business for the most part. However, we recently just sent 2 clients to the Olympics, representing Team Canada over the summer, which was great. We're looking at building out a soccer division. So we've got a lot of things on the horizon.
No, that's very cool. Very cool to be able to, stick to what you know and love, but also dabble into everything else along the way. That's awesome. You touched on kind of the differences between how you yourself saw male college athletes treated versus female. You noticed there was a gap there. I mean, women's sports in general is on the up and up right now. So you started this at a good time, but talk to me about starting it. Obviously, an idea is one thing, executing is another thing. How did you logistically, physically start out making the business here, and how did things kind of build from there?
First step, and it was the hardest step, was signing my first client. That's, creating that credibility in the market was definitely the hardest part. I understood the game. Obviously, I had to learn the differences between the two sports. Anyone who's going to tell you male hockey is the same as women's hockey is just not involved in the female space enough, because they're 2 completely different sports. So finding my first client, once I had learned the business side of women's hockey, was definitely the hardest part. You sign one, you build momentum, and consistency compounds. So that's the next ones after that were a lot easier. But getting that first client to really trust me with their brand, with where they want to be, with their career was definitely the hardest part.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we touched on the PWHL there. COVID as well plays a factor in all this. Talk to me about how the landscape of women's sports and what you guys are up to has changed since you started it 3.5, 4 years ago to today here in October 2024.
I mean, it's actually crazy because, prior to the PWHL, there's the PHF. And I had done just under $1 million worth of contract negotiations that spring, only for over a Zoom call. The PHF was folded. The PWHL was born. All contracts were null and void, and there's a whole new learning process all over again. Players retired. Players lost their jobs. Players with 3-year contracts were now on camp invites. So there was a lot of navigating that space. But like you said, women's sports in general is booming, and it's a great time to be in it.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And I mean, we see the WNBA obviously having a great couple of years there. The PWHL is off to a great start here. I've been hearing a lot about women's volleyball down here in the States as well, as that's a big kind of opportunity for investment and growth right now too. Are there any other sports in women's sports in particular that you're very bullish on or high on at the moment?
It's funny you mentioned the volleyball. One of the agents that are with CSM has mentioned that a few times. Has
Yeah,
mentioned the pro leagues a couple of times now. So we might be exploring that. Soccer's doing some phenomenal things. The NWSL is obviously doing great things, but then there's the
yeah,
new league in Canada that we're trying to be at the forefront of as well. So there's the Northern Super League, and then softball. I want to work in softball in some capacity. I've got a
very
background in
cool, very
baseball.
cool.
I love it, and they're not the same sport, just like hockey, men and women, different sports, but it's exciting, and I love it.
No, that's awesome. And I want to circle back to hockey a little bit here. I could nerd out on every sport with you all day, but touching on hockey in particular, you mentioned you yourself have 40 clients there. Talk to me what the day to day is. How often are your touch points with the average client? What are you doing, day to day, week to week, as opposed to just start of the season, end of the season with your clients?
So, like you mentioned, there's different. We go through different seasons. There's the free agency season, where that's kind of where I'm all hands on deck. It's really busy. I'm dealing with GMs. I'm dealing with coaches. Right now, I'm doing a lot of video coaching. I'm doing a lot of meetings with my clients who want to discuss, how their weekend went. I'm doing a lot of going to their games as well. I was actually just planning my weekend around two different clients. So I'm going to go watch a game on Friday night and a different game on Saturday. And, being also the co-founder, there's a lot of business ops stuff that I do in the background on my day to day as well. But in terms of clients, a lot of it's on an as needed basis. I'm their point of contact for everything that's in their career, everything that's going on. So if they want to talk about their play, if they want to talk about a brand opportunity, if they want to talk about their future, those are all conversations that I'm having, and it's the client's decision how involved I am. I've got some clients that I touch base with, quarterly, and I have some clients that I'm almost friends with that I talk on a daily basis, and I know they had turkey on Thanksgiving. So it's up to the client as to what that relationship looks like. But I'm fortunate that they're all great.
Oh, that's very interesting. Like you said, it's similar to just being a people manager there in general, right? You have every different type of personality, every different type of communication preference with every different one of your clients there. So it's a lot of managing different people and expectations there. Again, specifically on hockey here, we keep touching on the PWHL. I know you guys have a lot of both Canadian University and NCAA athletes. If a player today, in your eyes as an agent, if a player isn't going to make it to the PWHL straight out of school there, what other options for advancement are there for a Canadian University or NCAA women's college hockey player?
Firstly, I want to make it super clear that it's the PWHL is extremely competitive. Very few are actually going to make the jump directly from school to a starting
Yep.
lineup this season. It's extremely, extremely competitive. Things are going to change. Obviously, the Olympics are coming up. Expansions are going to come up, are coming up. Um, but there's a lot of opportunities outside of the PWHL. There's the SCHL in Sweden. There's the SWHL in Switzerland. There's the Liga in Finland. There's the EWHL, across several countries in Europe. So there's a ton of opportunities still for women's hockey to continue to develop after school, that are all paid. They can all have a good life and hopefully come back over here where the best hockey players in the world are playing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what, in terms of, I guess, feasibility of going to a Sweden or a Switzerland for, your average Canadian university student there, are the teams covering travel and visa and sponsorship fees? Are you working on that with the player? I'm guessing it differs every case to case, but is there kind of a standard there for these different European leagues?
So it differs from league to league, team to team, player to player, similar to the men's side, right? Um, Most teams are offering accommodations in Europe. That's pretty straightforward, as well as travel. Travel oftentimes is taken care of. Um, Finances, it varies from 2 to 4,000 Canadian a month, for the hockey season. But again, your living expenses are covered, right? So that's 2 to 4,000 that can cover the money that you want to spend in other areas of your life.
Yeah, very interesting. No, I think it's cool how many opportunities are out there. I think the light's starting to get shine on that a little bit more here in the women's hockey circuit with the options that players have. But interesting to hear from an agent's point of view there on what some of the feasible options are for sure. And again, touching on college, university athletics, the NIL landscape in the US right now. What are your thoughts? What's your stance? How much are you dealing with that day to day with your clients?
I'm constantly navigating it and constantly learning new things. It's a crazy time to be an agent with the NIL space the way it is. It truly is. It's a beast of its own, and it's so important for not only our clients but for athletes at that college level across all sports to make sure that they're building their personal brand for a life, whether that's post sports. There's a ton of opportunities that come from your NIL, or for when you turn professional, there's even more opportunities. But it's a beast in itself learning the NIL space. Our clients
Yeah.
are navigating it daily. Every school has different regulations, which is super important for your agency to know that. At some schools you can use the logo. At some schools you can. At some schools you can use the facilities. Some schools you can't. So navigating that as well as their student visas is very important.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the wild, wild west right now with the NIL space, and it's. I think it's fair to say that women's sports aren't compensated in NIL the same way that NCAA football is right now, or anything like that. But there's still significant money to be had and money to be made for these student athletes, which is awesome and a step in the right direction, of course. How do you, with your clients, balance the hey, I'm a freshman, I've got an offer for a couple $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars to work with this brand that I don't really know, versus hey, let's get the money while we're here, let's make some money while we're in this? How do you balance that kind of give and take with your clients?
A lot of what we're doing is setting them up for success in the future. So part of the onboarding, part of the relationship that we're building with our clients is making sure that we know what their goals are and what their values are, and uh, we prioritize that, right? So we have clients that want any and all deals, and we have clients that already have a relatively big social platform and they only want to push stuff that aligns directly with them, their brand, their followers. So
Sure.
that it varies from athlete to athlete, values to values, goals to goals. And that again comes down to the relationship that I have with them, understanding that, making sure that I'm negotiating those deals that align with what they're looking for.
Awesome. And I want to take it all the way back here now, Lander. We touched on it briefly before, but you played some university hockey yourself. You got to see the landscape. At what point did you decide you wanted to get into being an agent? At what point was it interesting to you?
It's funny. I definitely have a non-traditional, last 5 or 6 years. I played college hockey. I wasn't good, but I played college hockey. um, and it was actually during my post grad program when I was taking my paralegal studies that it's funny. I was in what class was it? I can't remember which class it was, but the professor knew I did not enjoy the class. I was not enjoying myself there, and he pulled me aside. He said, "Listen, I'm not worried about what you're going to do. I'm just worried about you passing this class. Once you get out of this class, you're going to succeed. I've got no doubts about it. But I need, I need you to pass this class."
Yeah.
I passed the class. I spent the next 5 years, working in law here in Calgary. I've touched criminal law, I've touched civil litigation, I've touched corporate, and it was really when I recognized that female athletes were not treated the same as male athletes that I saw that there was a gap in the market. A ton of agents are lawyers, a ton of agents are paralegals. I used my background and leaned into it, and here we are.
That's interesting. That's interesting to hear that you were kind of on the paralegal or law path, and then kind of refound that love for hockey and sports, and were able to dive back in and start what you're doing there today. In terms of, again, you have a little bit of a non-traditional career path or trajectory there. If somebody wanted to become the next great agent at Cookstar Management, what sort of career path, schooling path would you suggest for somebody looking to get into the agency world today?
And I don't think this just stands like means for CSM, but I think for kind of all agents. The biggest thing is client management. That's really what it comes down to. And it's being able to talk to different types of people on a daily basis and building those relationships. So the first thing, and it's repetitive, but um, I swear by LinkedIn, and I swear by having a good network around you to start that career path. And then it's a matter of, like I said, even at CSM, it's a culture thing. Um, you're working as a team 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and not being able to work as a team, not being able to see the bigger picture is might hold that potential agent back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great advice and great insight there. I also wanted to touch on stepping away from the agency side of things here. I know that you're a referee yourself. You ref a lot of hockey. Looking on your LinkedIn there, I believe it said 12 years. So your refing career is almost legal drinking age in Alberta. Talk to me about refing, how you got into it, how you enjoy it still today.
I stand by it. I think it's the best job a high school kid could have. Honestly, I stand
Hmm?
by that. It's phenomenal for conflict. It's phenomenal for decision making. It's phenomenal for a lot of, even for your skating abilities. Honestly, for rule knowledge, if you are a hockey player, um, and you make pretty good money doing it as well. So it's a great time. Like you said, I've been doing it for a dozen years. I'm a level 3 now in Alberta. I skate up to midget AAA, junior B hockey. So I'm out there, every weekend skating a few games. It's fun. I love it. It keeps me on my toes. It's a good
No,
way
that's
to stay involved in the sport as well. So that's another big reason why I do it.
yeah, no, 100% keeps you out there, keeps you involved, and it's always a position that's in need. I think no matter what small town or city you stop in across Canada, the U.S. or otherwise, they're always looking for more refs. So I totally agree with you there. I never refed hockey. I did timekeeping and all that stuff, but I umpired baseball when I was younger, and totally agree with you. Like, it keeps you involved in the game. It teaches you the rules. It gives you a different appreciation. I don't think I chewed out any umpires after I was an umpire
No,
myself, and
exactly.
teaches you a whole different perspective, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, the coaches dealing with conflict side. Um, you're going to deal with, super manipulative coaches to yelling to belittling to really nice coaches.
Yeah,
There are more nice coaches than there are bad coaches, but you learn to deal with all of them in a confrontational way. So whether you're 14 skating U9 hockey or you're 29 skating midget AAA, that coach is still going to give you a hard time. So it's a great way to deal with conflict and
absolutely.
de-escalating conflict as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is you can't just go at them or attack them back like you might in a hockey dressing room or something like that, right? You're there in front of hundreds of people. You gotta be cool, calm, composed, direct, blunt with how you
Yep.
respond, and make your decisions there. So yeah, I think there's a ton of good, valuable life skills and lessons through refereeing, umpiring, or whatever it may be there. I want to shift a little bit because I know that we had worked on opening a roll up for CSM recently together. You guys were looking for somebody to join the team in sort of a part-time internship capacity, and we've had a number of awesome interviews there together. But what do you, as a co-founder, a businessman, a legal guy yourself, what do you look for in a resume in a candidate that people could learn or take away from this conversation?
The biggest thing that I was looking for was previous skills was a big one. Previous skills was obviously a big one. However, the biggest thing that I was actually looking at when I was looking at the resumes in a cliche way was the resume itself. I I think the way that they wrote it, the way that they even named the document, said a lot about the kind of employee, the kind of intern that they were going to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was it was interesting. We've hired before, but we haven't hired on that sort of scale. Like we hadn't had that type of reach for a position before,
Sure.
and it really opened my eyes to the types of resumes that are out there and how critical your resume can be for future jobs, future positions. How important a well written cover letter with no typos and proper naming of the resume is important. And then
Yeah.
also, like I want to touch again on our culture. We're a small company. We're a startup. It's super important that the person fits in well. Previous experience working as a team was really important. So once we got past into the resume, into the meat and potatoes, um, working as a team was the thing that I was looking for the most.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. You touch on there with the attention to detail. Loosely, I call it with the resumes, but like you said, it's the spelling mistakes. It's the remembering to change out the company name and the title. Nothing worse than when you apply to Cook Stark Management and your cover letter says, "Dear Poland Springs,
Yeah,
I'm excited to apply to this job." Or the resume, like you said, the naming of the file. Guys, make sure you're naming the file properly with your first and last name. You can put the date if you want. I know some schools and studies teach that, but there's nothing worse than getting a NB resume 2022 submitted to
yeah.
your job posting, and you're like, okay, well, this hasn't been updated in 2 years, or has
Or
it
even a
not?
couple of like
All those little things, right? Is
HTTPS.
there any other?
There were even a couple of like HTTPS backslash. I'm like, what are you doing? Why? Why are you sending me this and not
Crazy.
cleaning this up even a little bit, just a little bit?
No, I couldn't agree more. And I see it a lot of times on some of the technical roles that I hire at my day job and things like that, that the attention to detail just has to be there.
Yeah.
We should be coming out of your resume with questions about what you've done, not questions of what the hell have you done? Like, why is this like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or who even is this?
Yes, yes, exactly. But no, I think that's good, tangible kind of feedback there. Similarly, you touched on LinkedIn earlier, growing your network. In 2024, what is the best way that a recent grad, a young professional, can be growing their network?
Consistency compounds. Being on it every day, whether that's connecting with people every day or even posting every day. Some posts might get no likes, but it only takes one to go viral, and you've got 67 connections now pending in your friend box. So it's LinkedIn is one of those algorithms like TikTok where it takes one good post and it can take off. So consistency compounds on that platform for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like you said, reaching out to people consistently. If you guys, and I know this is hard, sometimes you need LinkedIn Premium or sometimes you don't know who to reach out to, but if you guys can reach out to 3 people every single day for almost a year, maybe take a handful of days off, it's over 1,000 people that you can reach out to in a year. And are all of them going to end up being genuine relationships that you're best friends with and you see each other every weekend? No, of course not. But if you can just get those at bats, get that consistency where you
Yep,
put yourself out there, like you said, Lander, I think that consistency is compounding. And when you take that many swings, you're bound to hit one over the fence.
exactly. It only takes one for good things to start to happen.
100%, 100%. Well, Lander, this has been awesome to get to learn a little bit more about Cook Stark Management, learn a little bit more about your career path. Tell the people where they can find you online if they have any questions and what to look for next from the agency.
Yeah. So next for the agency, you can look for us hopefully in soccer, in some PWHL rinks near you. You can find us on cookstarkmgmt.com as well as our Instagram cookstarkmgmt or at cookstarkhockey. And yeah,
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Lander, for coming on here. This has been awesome to get to learn a little bit more about you and the journey. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and watch for next week's Working in Hockey podcast episode.
thanks so much, Nick.